serious problem on your hands.
Every man has a legacy, whether they want one or not. What is yours going to be?
Godfather of Harlem premiering Sunday, September 29th on Epix. Have to be.
Yeah, it's crazy because remember when we had Dapper Dan here last month, and Dapper Dan was talking about Harlem at a time where there was a difference between having the number runners there versus when the drugs came in. And for somebody like me, I grew up in Jersey. I don't know. You know, Harlem was the Apollo, and that's as far as it went for me. This sounds so fascinating, Swizz, Chris. This sounds amazing. Will you guys take a deep dive into that as well? Because when Dapper Dan spoke on it, I was like, wow, I never thought about it from that perspective.
Well, Dapper Dan, I just read his autobiography, which is incredible. And
Yeah.
it's a real story of the movement of Harlem from the 50s when he was growing up all the way till now.
Right.
And, the drugs changed the game because, the crack destroyed the neighborhood.
But do you think the numbers game was more respectful?
The numbers game was the single largest employer of African Americans in New York City out of all businesses. It had thousands of people in it, supported families, and obviously
that's what he said.
And obviously it was a relatively victimless and violence-free business. Drugs caused people to fight over territory and corners, and also created thousands and thousands of addicts. One of the things one of the things we explore in Godfather of Harlem is we feel like it has a lot of contemporary parallels. We have police brutality that started the Harlem riots in '64. We have the opium crisis, heroin in that day, pills now. So we're looking for the show to make a comment about today while being set in the past.
Right.
And Swizz's the musical game plan we had from the beginning was very ambitious. It was when you're watching the show, you hear something come out of the radio. It might be Martha and the Vandellas, period appropriate music from '63. But we wanted to make a connection between the past and the present, and that's what Swizz was able to do, is to watch the show and figure out his version musically of how to create music that integrates well with songs from that period. So we move from the past to the present musically, and it was very rarely do you do a TV show where you create a soundtrack album in advance. And also this soundtrack album was created again based on Swizz watching the show and sitting with the artists and having them create for specific episodes. So the artists are vibing off what they're seeing on screen.
Chris, did you work on Hoodlum?
I wrote Hoodlum.
You wrote Hoodlum, right? That's why I know.
Wow.
See the title?
Wow.
Well, that was Fishburne playing Bumpy in the 1930s when he was protecting the numbers bank of Madame Stephanie St. Clair.
Yeah.
And then Forrest and some producers approached me about 2 years ago and said, hey, would you be interested in doing a television series about Bumpy in the 60s? And I thought at first, well, I've already done the character and I had Fishburne play him, well, what's the story of Bumpy in the 60s? And it was this connection with Malcolm X. When I realized that these guys played chess on Sundays, they were tight, and they had, Malcolm knew what Bumpy was involved in crime, but they had a connection that went all the way back from when Malcolm was a hustler on the streets in the 40s. And so that's what was the inspiration for doing this. And of course, we have Forest Whitaker playing him. He just kills it. And this young guy, Nigel Thatch, who plays Malcolm, it's fierce.
Man, I can't wait to sit and watch this Godfather of Harlem on September 29th. DB.
Yeah, Swizz, you talked about making music that was more period appropriate and that didn't sound like you were just making a separate album, that was tied in with this series. And I remember when Jay did American Gangster's soundtrack for American Gangster, where Clarence Williams III played Bumpy Johnson. Remember, and Denzel was playing his own character. And so how do you do something? Because obviously music has become so integral with like the Luke Cage music, and then you had like the theme song for Power, with Joe and 50 Cent. How do you do something that stands out, but also, like you said, still is relevant and sounds appropriate for the series and the content?
I think when you challenge yourself, but then also pull something that people know you best for, which is why we went with the DMX and the Rick Ross. It just felt right, and when you see the show cut to it, it'll make more sense. And I was just like, you know what, I get to do all those things and still be myself. right? And a lot of people, they get these positions and then they want to play in the lane, not saying that you shouldn't go and do different things, but they playing in a territory that they know they don't master, and then the show would suffer because of that, right? And different things that I didn't specialize in, I called people in that did specialize in that. And I think all of that is part of being a producer, and is knowing how to produce, not just the artist, but produce something to film. And, it takes time. But you got, when you sign up for it, you got to be ready for it.
Got to be ready for it. Swizz Beatz is here. Yeah. Chris, Brancato, yeah, is here as well. From the series Godfather of Harlem, Mike MUSE.
Yeah, Chris. One, Swizz, I'm a big fan. So salute to your career that you've had. Chris, I have a question. You mentioned you hope this series gives comment to what's happening past versus present. Sometimes we often think about civil rights and movements that one needs the other, and that kind of gets lost in conversation, right? Malcolm needed Martin. They also needed the Black Panthers, right? So in this series that you're talking about right now, I'm curious that you explore the relationship of how the civil rights movement in the 60s needed individuals like Bumpy to be in conversation with each other in order for make change happen.
Well, absolutely. I mean, fundamentally, Malcolm's soldiers in the nation were former street gangsters who found Islam. And so the connections between crime and civil rights and the desire of groups who are second-class citizens to rise in American society, oftentimes the foundation is crime, because you can't go to law school or become a doctor. You got no other opportunity than to take a business that doesn't require any entrance exam. And so crime for the Irish, for the Italians, for the Germans, for African Americans, all has in some ways worked as a stepping stone, a foundational stepping stone where people climb an economic ladder that leads to political power and then social and cultural power. Now, the African American experience is different than the other immigrant groups because the migration here was involuntary.
Yeah.
So there's so many differences, but there are also similarities to the way second-class citizen groups fight to become part of the fabric of the country. So on the show, we talk about how the Irish, or Adam Clayton Powell, played by Giancarlo Esposito, says to an Irish guy, the Irish were the N-words of America just 100 years ago, and now John F. Kennedy is the president. And so you watch as groups move up in the tapestry of what America is, and oftentimes crime is the first step to advancing in civil rights.
We've seen that with Jay-Z.
Right.
Where he started at Marcy.
And many others.
Now, look what we're seeing now, at the forefront of the civil rights movement as we know it today. So it parallels as well. Tracy.
Swizz, I'm wondering, for the average person, usually they'll separate their career from their house. They don't want to bring their work to home, so to say. Because you have...
Yeah, but they don't have Swizz's house.
You got to see the house.
It's different.
The infinity pool? Oh, my God. They ain't got an infinity pool.
There's a lot of chambers you can go into. But because your queen is also a musician, does Alicia end up being like a silent collaborator in all of your projects, so to say? Or do you separate it depending on what it is?
She's definitely a supporter. We support each other with everything. She let me do my thing. What we have in our relationship is, she's her boss, I'm my boss. We don't own each other, right? And I think that's been like a real strong point for us to identify that early in our relationship. It's like, I don't own you, you don't own me, but we support each other. I'm there for you. If I need you to be here, need her to be here, she'll be here. If she needs me, I'll be there. And it's just a flow. If I see that she need help with something, she's not even gonna have to ask me. I'm gonna just be like, babe, you know what? I think this is this and that, and vice versa. And so I think that that's how it's been fun that way, actually.
Yeah.
We have Mason on the line from Tacoma. Mason, good morning. How are you?
Mason, what it
Mason.
I'm doing well, sir. How you doing? Shout out to everyone. I love the knowledge that's being dropped. I'm looking much forward to the show to make it to TV. My question's for Swizz, though. I'm on my way to work right now, and I don't like it. But at home, waiting for me, it might as well be like your big crib. I got my MPC-X set up. I've been making hits, and that's been like my breakaway from like the mundane 9 to 5. My question is, what advice would you have to help someone transition and to being able to make those connections and to work with artists and to be able to help others in their craft and to actually be a producer and not a beat maker, like you said at the Revolt Summit?
Definitely. I think time is everything and time in is everything. And, you have to set your goals, because we could be making beats and wanting to be a producer all day, but if we don't have our own internal roadmap to where we're going, it's going to be hard for somebody to lead us in the direction that we want to go in. So I think the first step is identifying yourself and identifying what you really want from it. Do you really want money from it? Do you want to make history from it? What are your first steps? My first steps was I just was having fun with it. And I was in the hood. I was in the South Bronx. I didn't even know you could make money from music at that particular time, and I kind of kept that energy and attitude at the same time throughout my duration. And then when the money came, it was just a plus. But I was already having fun in my craft, and it was a part of my life. And then the magic just started happening. But you have to set your goals, and then I started setting my goals my goals were to have the songs playing out of every car, playing in the skate key, playing on the radio, and playing in the club. That was it for me. That was my goal.
Yeah.
Right? And then I started reaching that goal and started going past it. Then I had to set a new roadmap of plans. Every 2 years, every 2 to 3 years, you should reevaluate your plan.
Yeah.
Right? And so
2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had Swizz's. I had the privilege of meeting Swizz's mom this weekend, Kim, lovely lady, who told me that at age 2, he was playing with 2 G.I. Joes, making beats. Getting the G.I. Joes together.
Damn, poor G.I. Joes
on the windowsill.
Word. Swizz, before you go, man, I got to get you to do a drop for Sway in the morning, man.
Woo!
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
right.
we gonna do it live on the air too, man.
What you mean?
Shit, the showtime. I don't know. Zone.
I thought you wanted me to rap or something.
Oh, yo, we can throw a beat on.
Throw a beat on.
Yo!
The bonus.
The
bonus. That's going to be the drop.
I just have fun with this.
That's going to be the drop.
This is hip
I
hop
have fun with it. We here.
in its finest form. Rich Nice, talk that shit.
Chris, you got
Listen,
bars too?
you did hear him say South Bronx.
Chris got bars.
Chris got bars?
You know where you at?
I'll give it a shot.
Welcome to the
Oh, this is epic.
Welcome to the Valley of the Hyenas.
Zone.
Yo, Swizz Beatz is here. Sway in the morning, Godfather of Harlem. Chris Brancato is here.
Turn it up. Oh, turn it up. Yeah. I'm maxed out here.
Yeah, turn him up over there. Turn him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's good?
That's good.
Okay. Swizz Beatz in the building. Sway in the morning, Shade 45. Time for bars. You must have bars.
No pressure. Yeah. Zone. Okay. Yeah. Every day, sway. How we do it, sway. Every day, sway. Up in the morning, sway. Wake up day, sway. Moving late, they move the AK. Think it's talking crazy. Say what they say. Can they get the paper? Every day, sway. Every day, sway. Every day, sway. Every day, sway. Make another way. Trying to get that pay. Just like sway. Hats different day. Every day, sway. Hoodie on sway. Bags on sway. Movie on sway. Top all gone sway. Built the kind sway.
What?
Glass house sway.
What?
Do it big sway.
What?
Every day sway. Every day sway. Every day sway.
Swizz.
Up in the morning, wake up every day sway.
Swizz.
Every day sway. Every day sway.
Swizz.
Do it big time like sway.
Hey! You heard that, Swizz Beatz?
That was.
Yo, you hip hop in its finest form. Yo,
I just have fun with it. I don't even take myself serious like that. I just be having fun with it.
Man.
Listen.
Shit, Chris, what happened?
Like
Yo, man.
It's catchy too.
Godfather of Harlem, Sunday, September 29th
Congratulations to you
on
both.
Epix.
That's dope.
Do not miss this.
That's dope.
This is one you got to watch with the family, too.
Oh, this is very educational piece.
Real story, educational, be informed.
Yes.
Sonically, visually, you're going to be stimulated.
Jesus.
Swizz, you never cease to amaze us.
Vice versa, man.
You know, I smile when I think about you. When they said you were coming up, I woke up. I actually caught a red eye last night and said, wow, I cannot miss today.
I did the same thing.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Where were you coming from? L.A.?
Yeah, from Cali.
I was in the Bay, so man. But continue every day. You know, Swizz, come on, man. I'm on tour with you, baby.
Every day,
you keep elevating us and inspiring us. And next time we'll talk more about the Smart Collection, the app that you have.
Yeah, all right, that's a whole nother segment. We just made the Dean Collection made the top 200 collectors in the world.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I always tell the story.
First African American collection to actually make the cover of that is definitely a changing of the guards, which they put on the title of it.
Is that what they said? Changing of the guards.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's
Congrats.
I'm still blown away, but there's a lot of work that still need to be done.
Yeah. That's bigger than when Tiger broke in golf, because you had African Americans that played golf prior to Tiger.
That's it. I don't know about that being bigger than Tiger now.
But I'm just putting in perspective, in my opinion.
But it's up there, though.
Yeah, it is up there,
Yeah,
right?
it's up there.
Chris, thank you for coming by.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
You do great work, man. You did
Yes.
Species. You did Species too, right? Mm-hmm. You do great work, man.
Yeah.
I like your work, man.
Thank you.
So I'm sure I'm gonna love this. We want to
We got Grady Spivey in the building. I couldn't put this project together without him.
What up, Grady?
Chasing down clearances, chasing down lawyers, endless calls. Waking up in the morning and we got Bar behind OG.
That's my family right there.
Looking sharp, too. Looking sharp.
I see him in you can see him in the White House to the street corners,
That's
man.
what I'm
He
trying
be
to tell
everywhere,
you.
baby. I see him everywhere.
Monique Blake, who's out there probably working on some emails and keeping this thing going. Shout out to the whole Epix family and Epic family. And it's been a major blessing to do what I love since 1998.
Amen.
And it's 2020 going into now.
What a blessing.
I'm just happy to be here.
Swizz Beatz, iconic.
Thank you.
And he ain't even halfway done yet. How about that?
I ain't even start yet.
Yeah, he ain't even started. It's the warm-up lap right now.
Every day, Sway.
Every day.
Every day, Sway.
You know how often we gonna play that?
Every day,
Do you
Sway.
already?